Hey, good morning, Suburban Prepper. How's everybody? This party started. Uh, Talked about doing the fast yesterday. Gave it some thought, and I realized the last time I had anything to eat was yesterday morning, about 5 o'clock in the morning, and so did not eat anything for lunch because I never do, and I'm not eat dinner last night or breakfast today. So I've been on my fast now for 27 hours. And I can't say that I'm hungry, but one thing I'm holding is I'm not going to take some medications today because I know my blood pressure is going to bottom out. And I don't want that to happen. You ever listen to an old song from the 80s? If you're around my age and you just totally got the lyrics completely wrong or misunderstood.
200 countries. I know three flags.
Turn off the radio. So, Def Leppard, good rock and roll. They're from Europe somewhere. That song, that Gleben, Gleiben, Globen, Glacken. I thought that was, I don't know, Swedish or something growing up in foreign language. It was made up, like baby talk. I had to Google it or YouTube or whatever they had. Was it you Google or Ask or something back in the 2000s? And I was like, well, I want to learn what that word means. And it's gibberish. So back in the day, yeah, you didn't have access to the information that you have today. Gleben, Gleiben, Globen, Glacken. But it sold the song. I mean, God knows, it was a beautiful song. I got something to say. Better to burn out than fade away. Which is, I guess it's true. That's from your perspective. So it's been doing my diet now and my fasting for a good day. I don't know if I can make it for 24 more hours. We'll see. I'm definitely not taking my blood pressure medicine because my blood pressure already gets too low as it is. And if I'm depleted of food, it would get even lower. I did incorporate walk, and I did garden yesterday. Yesterday I planted eggplant, two varieties of eggplant I planted. I planted zucchini, okay, and then I planted some tomatoes, some big tomatoes. These are all seed, and they're the little grow things. They're in my garden. And once they get big enough, I'll put them in the beds. I got to figure out which beds they're going to go into. because I was doing some research on things, the nature of things. Apparently, you can plant ginger with a lot of different items. And I thought you couldn't really plant ginger with some things because it's a root plant. But you can. Because I'm planting ginger this year, I've fallen in love with the taste of ginger. Although I try to make ginger chews, sugar-free ginger chews, and I just can't get it down. Every time I ruin the thing, I feel like one of those chef shows where the chef gets fired or kicked off the show because he messed up the recipe. Or I feel like the Swedish chef from the Muppet Show. Doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop. And it's raining today, which is good because I've got some crops out. So at this point right now, I've got all my potatoes that I'm planting. I have the sweet potatoes, and I'm going to plant some more sweet potatoes. Because apparently you can plant sweet potatoes with other crops. So on my raised beds, you have to watch a previous video, you can see them. I like to maximize the space on the surface area and underneath the surface area. So I think today, if all goes well, I may not plant anything if I'm going to be tired. Or maybe I'll start to plant some onions and the lima beans. So what I do with onions is I use perimeter security because it wards off other pests. So they don't like the smell of it. I learned that when you have potatoes, you can plant beans with it because the two work in conjunction with each other to ward off pests. But I don't want to put those sticks in the ground. But if I put them on the edges, so I have that big bin, because I want my lima beans to grow, obviously. And they don't grow too deep into the ground. So I finished doing a freeze-dry video this morning. I just posted it on. And the freeze-dry process is called lyophilization. And it's basically a cycle of freezing an item. In my freeze dryer, it freezes it like below 30 degrees below the freezing point of water. Okay. And then it thaws it out up to, I think, 120 degrees. And when it thaws it out, all the water evaporates to the sides of the freeze dryer and ices and stays there and gets out of the food. So to me, freeze drying is far superior than dehydrating. Although dehydrating, you can make jerky. Freeze drying, it doesn't turn into jerky. It turns into like a rubber mallet to meat. You can reconstitute it. So dehydrating has its place. It's a cooking process. If you like making jerky, beef jerky, turkey jerky, jerky. I do have a dehydrator, but I never use it. I have it as a backup to my freeze dryer. In fact, right now I have stuff stored in my dehydrator in the packet, in the space where you dehydrate things. just so it doesn't. I gotta see what's in there. Could be some important stuff. I don't know. I think my dehydrator is made by Consorti. But yeah, I'm so excited that it's raining. Isn't that great? So I don't have to water my plants today. Let God do it. Anyway, so I'm doing YouTube videos. I'm doing my live streams here. I know I'm not getting a lot of watchers. Is that the right word? But I'm working on my shyness. I have a camera phobia. Turns out, even though I'm just talking to myself, you know, it's like a movie where a guy's driving around talking to himself. And you probably think that he's a little cuckoo, but I'm not. Not. Don't say that. So right now, I'm not going to make any more videos of anything other than updating my garden as I go along. Like I did a little video on the things that I planted because I'm not going to remember what they are, till they start growing. But it's pretty easy to tell what a eggplant looks like versus what a tomato plant looks like. I'll grant you that. Versus what a zucchini looks like. But when they're, the little baby plants, it's all green to me. And I know I've planted like, I don't know, 15 different tomato plants. And, some of them won't take, I understand. So I have plenty of them. I did a ton of the eggplant. I think about 30 eggplants. And same amount of zucchini. And I like the zucchini. I'm not a big fan of the eggplant, although I guess I could try it. I grow that for the wife. And I don't like tomatoes unless it's with a hamburger. I used to hate tomatoes by themselves. I mean, I still do. But I like it. Put a nice big tomato, thick one too, with the hamburger from my garden. And it does have its own deliciousness. But I will tell you, I get a tomato and I freeze dry it whole, I just cut it up into pieces, it tastes delicious. And I'm not a big tomato eater. I'll do some videos this year on my freeze dried tomatoes. Hopefully. Sometimes when I do a freeze dried video, I do everything right except when I forget that I wanted to do a video, so I package everything up. And it's like, oh shit, I was supposed to make a video about it. You can't just make a video of you throwing stuff in the freeze dryer. You want to see the finished product, right? Yeah. Then I thought to make future freeze dry videos more interesting is you show the finished product first, and then you go through the process in the beginning just to keep the watcher interested in watching the video. Some people, want things done first. So back to the diet fasting doing today? How do I feel? I'm alert. I'm clear-minded. I was very irritable yesterday. Apologies to my family. Very irritable. And but I'm not feeling irritable this morning at all. I actually woke up and I felt refreshed in a different kind of way. Maybe because I didn't have anything. So when you fast, okay, and you don't eat carbs, your body ends up burning in equal proportions fat and muscle tissue for energy. That's why, diets like Atkins work, because you basically, go ahead, sweetheart. You burn, it's catabolism, But you want to stay hydrated with plenty of water when you do that. So my last weight, and I didn't weigh myself yesterday because I didn't think I was going to do it. Jump into the fasting. The only thing I had to drink this morning was a cup of coffee with just a little bit of vanilla artificial sweetener, but no cream or no milk. So, because the milk would constitute something I don't want to eat, and don't want to do that. So we'll see if I can make it another 24 hours before I 2-day fast. The idea stemmed from my thinking about how in a survival school setting, when we were doing our escape and evasion, basically patrolling around in the woods in North Carolina in the middle of February, going hungry. And it just brings back more and more memories, okay? Anyway, so we were patrolling around North Carolina, Camp McCall or Camp Rowe. I don't remember which one it's called now. If there's any guys from my old unit or any SF guys that were there recently, because that's where they do some training at and stuff, let me know. I think it's Rowe. Anyway, so on our escape and evasion training, this farmer's dog found us. It's nice. It was a big dog. It had one blue eye. Beautiful, beautiful dog. Real happy, real lucky. It was a farmer's dog. I mean, it was well fed. And he hung out with us for a couple of days. Obviously, we were patrolling around this dog's, area of operations. And he hung out with us. It was such a treat just to have a nice dog hang out with us. And then, part of me thought, well, what if we eat the dog? Which I would never really do. But I did live in Korea where they do eat dogs. So the thought did come to my mind. I didn't say it out loud. I wouldn't have really done it to that beautiful, beautiful creature. Sweetest. It was one of those big dogs with a blue eye. It was a farmer's dog. It had a collar on, obviously. I wasn't going to do anything to it. But I forgot about that dog. That's a good dog. I'm going to pet that dog. Yeah, I got to pet the dog. It was a good dog. I don't know. Maybe that dog was used to us GIs walking around its area of operations and realized pretty much all of us were friendly. That it just grew to like us. But it takes one guy to be an asshole to an animal, and the animal just hates everybody else. So a lot of the guys that went through the training there obviously were nice to dogs. All right, let me tell you another story about survival skill. Okay, we were supposed to walk in the bush, okay, in the shit bush with thistles and cold ass water, sometimes frozen. But we walked the side of the road, okay, and we walked the road whenever we could, and we had to come over a bridge, and of course they had security at every bridge, every checkpoint. Okay, I guess they got people from different units to do the security, and the guy captured us. And our team leader was an E7 Green Beret comms guy. And he goes up to the guy, explains him the situation. You want to do this someday, don't say anything. Very persuasive in a good way. Then he asks him if he got any food, because we're hungry as hell. And the guy didn't have any food. We weren't going to frisk the guy, obviously. You don't do that to another soldier. But they did like 4-hour watches. They didn't report us, obviously. But one of the instructors did capture us once. Okay. Because we had a nice big fire going at night, and we were nice and warm and cozy, and we fell asleep. We woke up, and this guy woke us up. He was so in SEER school, you have the conventional forces instructor, there's a paratrooper and an infantry guy. You have a ranger instructor, who is like you think he is. You have the Green Beret instructors. You have some other type of instructors. So our instructor was the ranger instructor, and he acted like back in the 80s and 90s typical ranger, kicking us out of the class because we violated the standards or something, saying how we needed this class, we needed this to keep our jobs. It was true, but why do okay? You captured us, okay? Yeah, so we had to sign something saying that we screwed up, and it didn't go anywhere. I didn't like that guy, but he was just doing his job. I was the low guy on the totem pole. I just kept my mouth shut. I was not an NCO at the time. I was still a Spec 4. And so of course, the Spec 4, they make me in charge of the patrol, right? And, but yet I got 3 SF guys, one guy from 10th Mountain, who was a ranger with their recon unit, and a guy from one of the ranger battalions from headquarters, and me. So of course they put the Spec 4 that really was wet behind the ears as in charge of the patrol. So I did the patrol, right, on paper, but the E7 comms guy, the SF guy, who was really in charge, he supervised what I did. And he said, we're not going to do this. We're going to walk the roads. We're not stupid. And I said, well, that's not what we're supposed to do. And he said, shut up. We're going to do it. I mean, I had enough common sense to listen to my the senior, and I'm glad we listened to him, because it was still hard as hell, because we did have to go into the bush a lot, and we did walk the roads. We walked the side of the roads, everything. I'm drinking some sparkly water. excuse me, I've given up soda. I can't say I've given it up 100%, but I don't drink. I used to drink 2 liters a day of Diet Coke. I don't drink it anymore. I don't even drink like a bottle or a cup or something anymore. It's water. In the morning, I have a cup of coffee. And soda is just horrible for you. It's very tasty. Even the homemade soda, I don't think is good for you. Unless, I don't know, because they have those home soda things you can make. It doesn't have all the, if you put the stuff in it, but I don't know what's in the formula. I don't want all the chemicals. Fizzily, drinking bubbly water, that's fine. It's just carbonated water. It's not a big deal. So what are your thoughts? So that school is the reason why I became a prepper. Okay. And I didn't know. I want to tell you something about my freeze drying journey. And this was in 2019. I wanted to learn about more long-term food storage versus dehydrating stuff. I said, I didn't know that freeze dryers were commercially available for home use. At the time, there's one company that makes the freeze dryer. See, I'm in Illinois now. People that want to cut you off in traffic think they have the right of way to do it, which this dude just did. And I'm not going to let it bother me. Anyway, back to freeze drying. I digress, ladies and gentlemen. So I learned about the freeze drying situation. I was like, well, that is like the ultimate prep for long-term food survival, is to get a freeze dryer. And at the time, they had a commercial. And they sold some industrial freeze dryers for small pharmaceuticals, and also the 3 sizes: small, medium, and large. Realistically, I should have gotten the large, but I got the medium. No regret though. But if you're going to get a freeze dryer, get a Harvest Right, okay? Because they worked out all the kinks and bad issues with the technology, and it's a great product. There's other companies that have the Harvest, a freeze dryer, but to me, it's like they made it first. They did the best. I don't know how they can improve on it more. The only downfall to the freeze dryer business is the oil pumps and the oilless pumps. They fail because pumps don't last forever. And I don't know how to, if one piece fails on it, the whole thing is done. It could have been a simple fix, and I don't know what it is. So just don't know. But anyway, so I freeze dry. I got a medium, and I didn't read the directions on how to do it. I watched a YouTube video, a couple of them, and I was like, okay, I got it. And I got most of it, except I had the thing upside down, where you put the food, but it's still freeze dried because of the heat. It was heating it from the bottom instead of from on top. Not a big deal, but I did turn it up. So my wife actually found that out. I had it upside down wrong. If you look on my YouTube page or on some of my videos, whatever, I do have an affiliate with Harvest Right. So if you buy a freeze dryer, I get a little affiliate, although nobody has, and I don't really push the issue because freeze dryer is a couple $1,000s. But if you want to take your prepping up to the next level, that's what you should do. So I was thinking of the title for my latest freeze dry video, instead of, saying, here I am freeze drying, blah, 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 blah. I got to come a little craftier with my titles because that garners more interest. And I was watching a video about how a dude, a health dude, makes health videos and stuff. Real, I like it when health dudes make videos and stuff, and they look healthy physically. And he came up with the idea of doing an if this, then this. How can I apply this to a freeze dry video without making it too wordy and without making it too corny? Because I'm good at making things sound very corny. So I write, the title of my video is, if you freeze dry your own food, you will thrive when SHTF, when shit hits the fan. It's not the SHTF, the shit hits the fan. So I have to leave out as many other small letters as possible. And that was an appropriate title. We'll see how many. And this dude was doing an interview, and he said, I got 300 times more videos watched than when I just used regular, like, hey guys, today I'm freeze drying X. Come and watch my video. So, and then I worked on getting a cool thumbnail. This to me is a thumbnail, okay, ladies and gentlemen? I didn't know that the thumbnail is a picture of what the video is with some words in it. So today it's 7:36, and I made it. I'm about 10 minutes out from work. Not a lot of traffic today. I wonder what's going on. Usually it takes longer for me to get to work. I'm not driving any faster. You ever look at someone, you see their license plate, it's a custom plate, and you don't know what it says or what it means because it's hyphenated short letters, and you're like, oh, this lady has a DRCA something. I'm a nurse practitioner, similar to what a doctor does, but I don't like to advertise it on my car. I have my veterans plates. I'm proud to advertise that. I'm proud of what I do for a living, but I don't like to advertise, like if shit hits, if someone, sometimes it's just better to burn out than fade away, if you know what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen. I like to just fit in. I don't want to be, oh, there's a medical person, he's going to help us. And I'm like doing my own thing, and I'm not here to help you. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not an emergency medical hologram. I'm just a regular dude, too. Although I do carry an 8-bag in my truck, I would feel naked without some form of emergency medical treatment. Because if there was a wreck and I stopped upon the scene, I couldn't live with myself if I didn't go and help the people, or at least do an evaluation of them and wait for EMS to get there. Because it's, if you have an arterial bleed, you got minutes left. So, yeah, I would stop. And I have done it before, actually, a couple times on car wrecks on the highway. And I don't talk about it. Oh, that brings me to another story. I'm full of stories today. One time, well, a long, long time ago, in the 2000s, after 9/11, okay, I was with my guard unit. And we were doing our 2-week, 3-week annual training bullshit. Okay. And I was at headquarters company. Uh, my first sergeant comes to our, we're outside. We've got our 2 ambulances. And then we just sleep next to them or we sleep in them. Anyway, we're just waiting there, doing what medics do. We twiddle our thumbs. And one of the infantry battalions, someone got massively dehydrated and they couldn't get the IV in. On top of that, he was exposed to poison ivy and they needed help. Well, they could have. 2 minutes later, I was out there where the platoon was. I didn't know the fellas. At this point, I was a registered nurse on the civilian side, and I'd done thousands and thousands of IVs. So I could start an IV at this point with my eyes shut, just by palpation. Of course, I get the IV in the young fella, get him rehydrated. I let their medic take over. And the cool thing is, I got a coin from the general. Our brigade was because it was a separate infantry brigade, had a 1-star general in charge instead of a colonel because they upped the rank. It's like, I didn't know this, but back in the 80s and the 70s, like the Pershing unit that had the nuke missiles, that was run by a 1-star general instead of a colonel. Usually a brigade or a regiment is run by a colonel. But so with a separate infantry brigade, because it's a separate infantry brigade, I don't think it's that way anymore. 76 infantry or separate or SIB, as it were. Beautiful. It was a good unit, don't get me wrong. But when we went to Afghanistan, right? And you had your unit patch and then the combat patch. So they would call it a SIB sandwich, separate infantry brigade sandwich. I already had my combat infantry. No. Combat. I already had my combat patch from previous war that I was in. So I didn't get the patch. I didn't put the patch on my uniform. I already had one, and I'm not going to take one off and put a new one on. I like my SOCOM patch or USASOC patch better. But I got to go and get online or go to the PX in Indianapolis sometime because I want to get a SIB or a 76 infantry unit crest for my been there, done that hat. And then I want to get one when I was in the unit in Kentucky, the field artillery unit. And then I want to get one for the 35th Infantry, Mech Infantry Division patch. I want to get those 2. And those are all the units that I was in. Of course, I have a patch for when we were under first SOCOM, the Electric Lightning Airborne Horse. And then USASOC, United States Army, blah, 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 command. And I have a regimental crest of the 160th, the Night Stalkers. And then I have a couple of regimental crests for the different units. You see someone's honking, right? Because the people are turning into the highway here, into traffic, while other cars are going, like it's their God-given right to do it. Even though around here they drive like banshees. I don't even know what a banshee's a type of animal, I guess. So I'm just looking. So I drive by Prairie State College every day on the way to work. I have a couple of my patients that go there as students. They have a pretty good veterans organization, I'm told. One thing I don't talk about, and you'll never hear me talk about it, force of habit, is like I don't talk about how my day went with patients because I don't want anyone to think that I'm talking about them. And if I do talk about work related stuff, it's generalities. I just, that part of me I shut off because there is some freaky stuff I see at work from time to time. Freaky stuff that I see. So here's the thing. If I go in early, I won't get paid for it. They just plop the patient. My day doesn't end any faster. Well, I'm here. Anyway, someone's in my spot. Like I don't own the spot. And they might need it more than I do. We'll go around. And round. And like magic, we're here. So I think it's time to end the live stream. Thanks for watching. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do a live stream every morning at 7. But I'm going to try. I definitely am going to do my Saturday Night Live at 7. Hopefully with this new camera that I'm going to get. You know, I will, you'll see a difference from like last week's live stream and previous live streams. Okay. Well, everyone have a good day. Suburban Prepper out.